All right, so we're talking about gap fills, and we're talking about how to identify where the actual level is for a gap fill to occur. So we're looking at the daily chart of AER. So let's take the lower gap fill that occurred on the 11th of November. So when we look at this candle, so this is a green candle, but it doesn't matter whether it was a down day or an up day. All we're focusing in on is the top of the body of the candle. Therefore, in this case, we're focused in on the, not the high. The high represents the top of the candle, including the wick or the tail. We're focused in this case on the close at 42.33. The reason why we know it's the close is because it's a green candle. Let's go to the other side of that for a second. And let's say that we're looking at this candle up here and the gap fill, and this would be, by the way, this one is obviously if the stock is coming down into the level of 42.33, the stock's coming down to that level, we would be expecting a bounce at that level. The stock is consolidating right now over that level. That's a whole different story. That may or may not work out, but this is a daily chart. So on an intraday basis, you're still expecting a bounce there, but you would look at the intraday chart, you would look at the 60-minute chart, you would look at the 10-minute chart to verify what the pattern is doing, what the stock is doing at the time it's coming to fill that gap. But let's go to the other side. Let's look at the top, the candle that was the high on the 22nd. So that gap fill is actually the low of the body of the candle, and I'm going to get to whether it's green or red in a second. The low of the body of that candle at the opening of the candle, which is represented by 45.28. So the candle opened at 45.28, which is the low of the body, traded down, but closed higher than the open. That's why it's a green candle. But let's say this candle was red. It would be, and let's say it was the same shape and the same number that was the opening of this candle, 45.28. Let's say that was the close. Let's say we just flipped it 180 degrees in the other direction. If the close was at 45.28, this would make it a red candle. Let's say the opening was at the higher number and it was a red candle. That gap fill would still be at the same 45.28. Okay? Whether it's a green candle or red candle, doesn't matter. If the stock is coming up to that level, okay, we don't care what color the candle is. We just care about the body of the candle, the bottom of the body of the candle. Why? Because the stock is coming up into that area. Why do we care about the top of the body of this candle? Because the stock is coming down into it. That's the whole thing about the tops and bottoms and red and green candles. And I think that should clear up the issue. And if it doesn't, I'm happy to make another video. I have no problem. My objective is for you to understand fully what we're doing. So if I have to make you 10 videos, I will. So let me know how this one works out.